The stars looked different from the observation deck of the New Horizon. Commander Jake Morrison pressed his face against the thick glass window and watched the massive space station grow larger as they approached. The Galactic Council Station was bigger than any city on Earth. It spun slowly in the darkness, its lights twinkling like jewels against the black void. Jake had dreamed of this moment his entire life. First contact with alien civilizations? The chance to join the galactic community that had existed for thousands of years while humans were still learning to make fire. His hands shook slightly as he adjusted his uniform one more time. Lieutenant. Amy Carter walked up beside him, carrying a tablet full of diplomatic notes. She looked as nervous as Jake felt. Both of them had spent months preparing for this day, but nothing could really prepare a person for meeting aliens for the first time. Are you ready for this? Amy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake nodded, though he wasn't sure if he was ready or not. Nobody on Earth was really ready for this? Humanity had been watching the galaxy for decades through hidden telescopes and secret listening posts. They knew about the 7 major alien species that controlled most of the known galaxy. They knew about the wars, the trade agreements, and the complex politics that kept the peace, but watching from a distance was very different from actually being there. The New Horizon docked with the station with a soft thud that Jake felt through the floor. Ambassador Helen Ross appeared in the doorway, looking calm and professional in her dark blue suit. She had been chosen to represent humanity because of her years of experience in international diplomacy. If anyone could make a good first impression, it would be her. Time to make history, Helen said with a small smile. The airlock opened with a hiss, and they stepped into the station proper. The first thing Jake noticed was how big everything was. The corridors were wide enough for creatures, much larger than humans. The ceiling was so high that Jake felt like he was walking through a cathedral. The second thing he noticed was the smell. It wasn't bad, exactly, but it was definitely alien. A mix of ozone, metal, and something organic that reminded him of a garden after rain. Their guide was a tall, thin creature that looked almost like a human, but with gray skin and large black eyes. It introduced itself as Guide Yelkar and spoke perfect English through a small device attached to its throat. "Welcome to the Galactic Council Station," Guide Yelkar said in a voice that sounded like wind through leaves. "The council members are very excited to meet your species." They walked through corridors filled with the strangest sights Jake had ever seen. Creatures that looked like walking crystals glided past them without making a sound. Insect-like beings with 6 arms carried packages and tools. Something that looked like a living cloud of gas floated overhead, occasionally flashing with internal light. Jake tried not to stare, but it was impossible. Every few steps brought a new wonder, a new impossible sight that proved he was really meeting aliens from across the galaxy. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them, and the walls curved away in a perfect circle. 7 raised platforms surrounded a central area, where the human delegation would make their presentation. On the first platform sat the Zentari representatives. They looked like humans, but were taller and more elegant, with skin that seemed to glow with inner light. Their technology was the most advanced in the galaxy, according to the intelligence reports Jake had read. The Vexari delegation occupied the second platform. They were the crystal beings Jake had seen in the corridors, but these ones were larger and more complex. They controlled most of the galaxy's mining operations and were incredibly wealthy. The third platform held the Korthek representatives. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and multiple arms. Their society was based on a hive mind, which made them very efficient at large projects but difficult to understand. The other platforms held representatives from the Astral Collective, the Voidwalkers, the Harmony Singers, and the Deep Dwellers. Each species was stranger than the last, and Jake felt very small and human in comparison. Council leader Thexmar of the Zenthari stood up to address them. He was nearly 8 feet tall, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. When he spoke, his voice carried easily through the huge chamber. "We welcome the humans of Earth to this council," Thexmar said. Your species has shown remarkable progress in a short time. We are interested to learn more about your culture and capabilities. Ambassador Ross stepped forward and activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Earth appeared above them, blue and white and beautiful. Jake felt a surge of pride as he watched his home planet rotate slowly in the artificial light. "Thank you for this opportunity," Helen said, her voice steady and confident. "Humanity comes before this council seeking peaceful membership in the galactic community. We offer our friendship, our knowledge, and our commitment to the values that have kept the galaxy peaceful for so long." The presentation continued for over an hour. Helen showed them human art, music, and literature. She explained Earth's history, from the early days when humans fought constant wars to the modern era of unity and cooperation. She talked about human achievements in science, medicine, and technology. Jake watched the alien representatives as they listened. Most of them seemed interested but not particularly impressed. Humanity's technology was decent but not exceptional. Their military was limited to their single star system. Their culture was interesting but not unique. The questions came next. The Vexery wanted to know about Earth's mineral resources. The Korthic asked about human reproduction and social structures. The Astral Collective inquired about human spiritual beliefs. Jake noticed that nobody asked about human military capabilities. That was probably for the best. The reports he had read suggested that human warfare was unusually brutal compared to galactic standards. Most alien conflicts were fought with strict rules and limited objectives. The idea of total war was foreign to them. After the questions ended, the council members discussed the human application in their own languages. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could sense the tone of the conversation. They were being polite but not particularly enthusiastic. Finally, Council Leader Thexmar stood up again. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision," he announced. "We hereby grant humanity provisional membership status. You will be allowed to establish trade relations and participate in minor council decisions. Full membership will be considered after a probationary period of 1 standard galactic year." Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had done it. Humanity was officially part of the galactic community. It wasn't everything they had hoped for, but it was a start. The ceremony concluded with the traditional exchange of gifts. The humans presented samples of Earth's finest art and technology. The aliens gave them data crystals containing star charts and technical specifications for basic galactic equipment. As they prepared to leave, Guide Yelkar approached Ambassador Ross. "Your species shows great promise," the alien said quietly. "But be careful, the galaxy can be dangerous for newcomers. Some of our member species are not as peaceful as they appear." Helen thanked the guide for the warning, but Jake could see that she was already thinking about the implications. Earth had expected this moment for decades. The hidden fleets, the secret weapons, the careful preparations, all of it had been leading to this day. The humans walked back through the station corridors, past the impossible sights and strange smells. But now, Jake saw everything differently. This wasn't just a wonder to be admired. This was a battlefield to be studied. Every alien they passed was a potential enemy. Every corridor was a potential ambush point. As the New Horizon undocked from the station and began its journey back to Earth, Jake stood once again at the observation window. The stars looked the same as before, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The question was, would they be allowed to stay that way? Captain Ben Collins stared at the screen in disbelief. 12 massive ships hung in space around the human research station, their hulls gleaming with the dark metal that marked them as Korthic vessels. Each ship was 3 times larger than his research vessel Pathfinder, and their weapon ports glowed with threatening energy. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," reported Lieutenant Danny Price from the communications station. His voice was tight with worry. Ben nodded and activated the main viewer. The face that appeared was Nightmare Fuel. The Korthic commander looked like a giant insect crossed with a machine. Its compound eyes reflected the bridge lights, and its mandibles clicked together as it spoke. I am war leader Vexthur of the Korthik Collective, the alien announced in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. You will evacuate this station immediately. This system now belongs to the Korthak. You have 6 hours. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Ben staring at a blank screen. Around him, his crew of 37 scientists and engineers waited for orders. They had come to the Kepler system to study a rare stellar phenomenon. None of them had expected to become the center of an international incident. "Sir, what do we do?" asked Dr. Lisa Wong, the mission's lead scientist. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but right now those eyes were filled with fear. Ben looked around the bridge at his crew. Most of them were civilians. They had signed up to explore the galaxy, not to fight aliens in a war zone. But Ben had served in Earth's military before joining the research division. He knew that running away from bullies only encouraged them to push harder. "Send a message to Earth," Ben ordered. "Tell them what's happening. Request immediate assistance." "Sir, the nearest Earth fleet is 4 days away," Danny reported. Even if they left right now, they couldn't get here in time. Ben knew that. He also knew that the Korthik knew that. This was a test. The insect aliens wanted to see how humanity would react when pushed. They had probably done this to dozens of other species, using fear and intimidation to grab territory. Without a formal war? "Keep working on your research," Ben told his crew. "We're not leaving." Dr. Wong looked at him like he had lost his mind. "Ben, those are warships. They could destroy us without even trying." "Maybe," Ben replied, "but Earth doesn't abandon its people. Help will come." The next few hours passed slowly. The Korthik ships maintained their threatening positions around the station, occasionally firing warning shots that lit up the darkness. Ben's crew tried to continue their work, but everyone kept glancing at the tactical display that showed the alien vessels dot at the 4-hour mark. Vexthur contacted them again. This time, his patience seemed to be wearing thin. "You have 2 hours remaining," the war leader announced. "After that, we will begin destroying your station piece by piece. Perhaps watching your life's work burn will motivate you to leave." Ben cut the transmission without responding. He had dealt with bullies before. The best way to handle them was to stand firm and wait for backup. The backup came sooner than expected. 8 hours after the original ultimatum, a single ship dropped out of hyperspace. It was smaller than any of the Korthik vessels, painted in the gray and blue colors of Earth's military. The name Defiant was written along its hull in bold letters. Ben felt a wave of relief wash over him. Earth had sent help after all. But one ship against 12 seemed like impossible odds. The Defiant's captain opened a communication channel to the Korthik fleet. Ben's crew listened in as a calm, confident voice filled the bridge. "This is Captain Ryan Davis of the Earth battleship Defiant," the voice announced. "You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. This is your only warning." Vexthur S. Laughter filled the channel. It was a horrible sound like metal scraping against stone. "One small ship against the might of the Korthik Collective," the war leader said. "Your species is either very brave or very stupid. I will enjoy adding your wreckage to my collection." "Your choice," Captain Davis replied. And the channel went dead. Ben watched the tactical display as the Korthik ships began moving into attack formation. They were confident, almost casual in their movements. Why wouldn't they be? 12 ships against one seemed like a sure victory. The battle began without warning. The Defiant moved with incredible speed, accelerating far beyond what should have been possible for a ship its size. It cut through the Korthik formation like a knife through paper. The first Korthik ship exploded in a burst of fire and debris. Then the second, then the third. Each explosion was so sudden and violent that Ben's crew gasped in shock. The Korthik weapons fired back, but they seemed to be shooting at empty space. The Defiant was moving too fast, changing direction too quickly, for the alien targeting systems to track. "How is it doing that?" Dr. Wong whispered. Ben had no answer. The Defiant was moving and fighting like no ship he had ever seen. Its weapons were different too. Instead of energy beams, it fired solid projectiles that moved at incredible speeds. When they hit a Korthak ship, the results were devastating. The fourth Korthak vessel tried to ram the Defiant, but the human ship spun away at the last second and fired a spread of missiles. The Korthak ship disappeared in a ball of nuclear fire, nuclear weapons. Ben realized with shock that the humans were using nuclear warheads as regular ammunition. The thought made him feel sick. No wonder the Defiant was so effective. The fifth and sixth Korthak ships died within seconds of each other. The seventh tried to retreat, but the Defiant caught it before it could escape. The eighth and ninth ships fired everything they had, but their weapons bounced harmlessly off the human ship's shields. By the time the smoke cleared, 11 Korthak vessels were destroyed. Only Vexthor's flagship remained, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere into space. Captain Davis opened a channel to the crippled Korthak ship. "War Leader Vexthor," he said in the same calm voice, "you have a choice. Surrender now and return to your territory, or join your fleet in destruction. You have 30 seconds to decide." Ben watched the alien commander's face on the screen. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked like fear. Vexthor's compound eyes darted back and forth as he considered his options. I surrender," the war leader finally said. "We will leave this system immediately." "Good choice," Captain Davis replied. "And war leader, when you get home, tell your people what happened here. Tell them that humans protect their own." The damaged Korthak ship limped away into hyperspace, leaving the Defiant alone with the research station. Ben's crew stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. 7 minutes. That's how long the battle had lasted. 7 minutes to destroy 11 alien warships and change the balance of power in the galaxy. Captain Davis contacted the Pathfinder directly. "This is Captain Davis. Is everyone all right over there?" "Yes, sir," Ben replied. "Thank you for the rescue. How did you get here so fast?" "We were already on our way," Davis answered. "Earth has been expecting something like this." "We've been preparing for a long time," Ben frowned. "Preparing for what?" "War," Davis said simply. "The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten human beings. I suggest you pack up your research and head home. Things are going to get very dangerous out here." The Defiant disappeared into hyperspace, leaving Ben and his crew alone with their thoughts. Dr. Wong walked over to the observation window and stared out at the debris field that had once been a Korthak fleet. "Ben," she said quietly. "What kind of ship was that?" Ben didn't answer immediately. He was thinking about Captain Davis's words. Earth had been preparing for war, but preparing for how long? And what other secrets was his government hiding? "I don't know," he finally said. "But I'm starting to think we don't know our own species as well as we thought." Outside, the stars continued to shine in the darkness. But somewhere in the galaxy, a damaged Korthak ship was carrying news that would change everything. The humans were not what they seemed. They were not the peaceful junior members the Galactic Council had welcomed. They were something far more dangerous. The news would spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. Every species would hear about the battle at Kepler. Every government would begin asking the same questions. Who were these humans really? What other weapons did they have? And most importantly, what did they want? Ben Collins stared out at the stars and wondered the same things. The galaxy was about to become a very different place, and he wasn't sure if that was good or bad for humanity. The Korthak fleet filled the space around Proxima Station like a swarm of deadly insects. 200 warships hung in the darkness, their hulls gleaming with weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. War leader Zekthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human station grow larger on the main screen. This time would be different. The humiliating defeat at Kepler had shamed the entire Korthak collective. Vexthor had been stripped of his rank and exiled for losing to a single human ship. Now Zekthal would restore their honor by crushing these upstart humans completely. "All ships report ready for battle," announced his second-in-command. "The humans have 37 vessels defending the station. We outnumber them more than 5-1. Zekthal clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. Even if the humans had superior individual ships, They could not possibly stand against such overwhelming numbers. The collective had assembled every available vessel for this attack. The humans would be swept away like dust before a storm. Admiral Greg Parker watched the approaching Korthik fleet from the bridge of the carrier Indomitable. His hair was gray from 30 years of military service, and his eyes were cold as winter. Ice. He had been expecting this moment for months, ever since the first reports of the Kepler incident reached Earth. "Signal all ships," Parker ordered. "Battle stations. Deploy fighters and prepare for engagement." Around the station, the human fleet moved into formation. They looked small and fragile compared to the massive Korthik vessels, but Parker knew better. Every ship in his fleet carried weapons that had been developed in secret for decades. Every captain had trained for this exact scenario. The battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire. Korthik energy beams lanced across space, lighting up the darkness with deadly rainbow colors. The human ships responded with their kinetic weapons, firing solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Commander Sarah Johnson led Squadron 7 in a flanking attack that caught the Korthik completely off guard. Her 12 fighters moved like dancers, weaving between the enemy ships with impossible grace. Each pilot reacted to threats with split-second timing, their minds linked by combat computers that made them think as one. "Target the command ship," Sarah ordered over the radio. "Take out their leadership first." Her squadron dove toward the Korthik flagship, dodging energy beams and missile swarms. The alien gunners tried to track the small human fighters, but they moved too fast and too unpredictably. One by one, the fighters released their payloads. The nuclear warheads struck the Korthik flagship in perfect sequence. The massive ship shuddered and began to list to one side, its command systems damaged beyond repair. Zechthel felt the deck shake beneath his feet as explosions rocked his vessel. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our sensors show only 37 ships." His tactical officer studied the displays with growing confusion. "Sir, their ships are moving faster than our computers can track. And their weapons? They're using nuclear devices as regular ammunition." Zechthel felt a chill run down his spine. Nuclear weapons were considered weapons of mass destruction by every civilized species in the galaxy. They were banned from use in normal warfare by ancient treaties. But the humans were firing them like regular missiles. The battle raged for hours. The Korthik ships fired everything they had, but the human vessels seemed to dance between the energy beams. They moved with coordination that seemed impossible, each ship supporting the others in perfect harmony. Captain Nicole Davis commanded the dreadnought Vengeance, a massive vessel that carried more firepower than some entire fleets. Her ship moved through the Korthik formation like a predator among prey, its weapon systems destroying everything in their path. "Lock onto the cruiser group on our port side," Nicole ordered. "Fire all tubes." The Vengeance launched a spread of antimatter torpedoes that streaked across space like shooting stars. When they hit the Korthik cruisers, the results were spectacular. The alien ships simply vanished in bursts of pure energy. Their atoms scattered to the solar winds. The Korthik fleet began to break apart under the relentless human assault. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for generations were being destroyed by opponents they had dismissed as primitive newcomers. The aliens had never faced anything like this before, but the humans were just getting started. Boarding pods launched from the human ships, carrying assault teams directly into the Korthik vessels. The aliens thought their thick armor and sealed hulls would protect them, but the human Marines cut through metal like it was paper. Marine Sergeant Kevin Murphy led his team through the corridors of a Korthik heavy cruiser. The aliens tried to stop them with everything they had, but human soldiers had been perfecting the art of close combat for thousands of years. "Move fast and hit hard," Murphy shouted over the sound of gunfire. "Show them what happens when they mess with Earth." The human Marines fought with a savagery that shocked the Korthik defenders. They used weapons that fired explosive rounds, carried grenades that could level entire compartments, and fought with a determination that seemed inhuman. The Korthik had always been considered the galaxy's most feared warriors. Their hive-mind coordination and natural armor made them nearly unbeatable in ground combat. But the humans fought as individuals, each Marine making independent decisions that confused and overwhelmed the alien defenders. Within minutes, the Korthak cruiser was taken. The human flag was raised over the bridge as the surviving aliens surrendered in terror. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as human boarding parties captured ship after ship. The tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. The Korthak fleet, once proud and confident, began to retreat in disorder. Ships that had survived the initial assault fled toward the edge of the system. Desperate to escape the human killing machines, Admiral Parker watched the retreating aliens with cold satisfaction. His fleet had lost only 7 ships while destroying over half the Korthak force. The enemy was broken, their will to fight shattered by the demonstration of human military might. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," reported his communications officer. "They're demanding an explanation for our actions." Parker smiled grimly. "Tell them we'll be happy to explain everything in person." The battle of Proxima Station ended with a complete human victory. The surviving Korthak ships limped back to their homeworlds, carrying tales of human brutality that would spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. The age of easy expansion and casual territorial disputes was over. News of the battle reached the Galactic Council within hours. The member species gathered in emergency session, their comfortable assumptions about human weakness shattered by the brutal reality of the conflict. Council leader Thexmar stared at the battle reports in disbelief. The humans had not just defeated the Korthak fleet. They had destroyed it with casual efficiency, using weapons and tactics that violated every civilized rule of warfare. "They've been lying to us from the beginning," announced the Vexery representative, its crystal form flickering with agitation. "These humans are not peaceful newcomers. They are predators who have been studying us while hiding their true nature." The Xanthari delegate nodded in agreement. "Their technology is far more advanced than they revealed. Their military capabilities exceed our own. We have been deceived." Fear spread through the council chamber like a virus. The humans had shown their true face, and it was terrifying. Every species began to wonder what other secrets humanity was hiding. What other weapons did they have? What were their real intentions? Ambassador Peter Williams stood before the council with calm confidence. He was a tall man with steady eyes and a voice that carried authority. When he spoke, every alien in the chamber listened. "The Korthak attacked our research station without provocation," Williams said simply. "They threatened our citizens and destroyed our property. We responded with appropriate force." "Appropriate force?" demanded the Astral Collective representative. "You destroyed 200 ships with nuclear weapons," Williams shrugged. "We defended ourselves. If other species wish to test our resolve, they will receive the same treatment." The threat was clear. Humanity had revealed its true nature, and the galaxy would never be the same. The peaceful age of the Galactic Council was ending, replaced by a new era where human military might would reshape the balance of power. The other species began to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. They had welcomed humanity into their civilization without understanding what they were truly inviting. Now it was too late to change course. The humans had shown that they were not just another species seeking membership in the galactic community. They were conquerors who had been biding their time, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true strength. The galaxy was about to learn what 3 billion years of evolution on a death world could produce. The largest fleet in galactic history assembled in the Rigel system. 800 warships from 7 different species hung in space like a deadly constellation. The Xanthari Empire had put aside their ancient rivalry with the Vexery Consortium. The insectoid Korthak joined forces with their former enemies, the energy beings of the Astral Collective. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers had emerged from their dimensional hiding places to participate in the campaign against humanity. Supreme Commander Velfara of the Xanthari stood on the bridge of the Super Dreadnought Eternal Glory, watching the assembled fleet through the main viewport. Her silver skin gleamed under the bridge lights, and her ancient eyes held wisdom from 1,000 battles. She had never seen such a gathering of military might. "The humans must be stopped," she announced to the assembled fleet commanders through the communication system. "They have shown themselves to be a threat to galactic civilization itself. Their use of nuclear weapons in regular combat violates every treaty we hold sacred." The other commanders voiced their agreement. Admiral Kexanoth of the Vexery Consortium spoke with a voice like crystal chimes. "My people have calculated the threat level. If humanity continues to expand at their current rate, they will dominate the entire galaxy within 50 years. Hive Queen Zarkle of the Korthik Collective added her own bitter words. "They fight without honor. They use weapons that civilized species banned long ago. They board our ships and slaughter our crews like animals." The plan was simple. 800 ships would drop out of hyperspace around the human fleet and overwhelm them through sheer numbers. No single species, no matter how advanced, could stand against the combined might of the entire galaxy. Fleet Admiral Marcus Stone received the intelligence reports from his flagship, the battleship Retribution. His weathered face showed no emotion. As he read about the approaching armada, he had gray hair and scars from a dozen conflicts, and he had been preparing for this moment his entire career. "Sir, our scouts report 800 enemy vessels," announced Captain Linda Hayes from the intelligence station. "Every major species in the galaxy is represented," Marcus nodded calmly. "Signal all ships. Prepare for the final battle." The human fleet consisted of only 42 vessels, but each ship represented the pinnacle of human military engineering. Hidden shipyards throughout the solar system had been building these vessels for decades, using technology that the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Nicole Davis stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Vengeance, watching her crew prepare for battle. These men and women had trained their entire lives for this moment. They knew they were outnumbered 20-1, but their faces showed no fear. "All weapons ready, Captain," reported Lieutenant Chris Moore from the weapons console. "Antimatter. Torpedoes loaded, gravity bombs armed. Nuclear warheads standing by," Nicole smiled grimly. The aliens had no idea what they were about to face. Human weapons technology had advanced far beyond anything in the galactic database. While other species had focused on energy beams and particle weapons, humans had perfected the art of mass destruction. The Battle of the Void began when the Galactic Alliance fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They expected to see the human vessels scattered and unprepared. Instead, they found 42 ships waiting in battle formation. As if they had known the attack was coming, Supreme Commander Velthara felt a moment of unease as she studied the human fleet. Their ships looked different from the intelligence. Reports larger, more heavily armed, more dangerous. "Begin the attack," she ordered. "All ships, open fire." 800 ships unleashed their weapons at once. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and particle cannons lit up the darkness like a deadly fireworks display. The combined firepower was enough to destroy entire planets, but the human ships moved like ghosts through the storm of energy. Their hulls gleamed with some kind of protective field that deflected most of the incoming fire. They accelerated to impossible speeds, weaving between the alien vessels with grace that seemed to mock the laws of physics. "How are they moving so fast?" demanded Admiral Kexanoth. "Our sensors cannot lock onto them." The answer came in the form of return fire. The humans unleashed weapons that the Galactic Alliance had never imagined. Antimatter torpedoes that could destroy entire squadrons. Gravity bombs that twisted space itself into a weapon. Most terrifying of all were the human boarding parties that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Captain Tony Mitchell commanded the heavy cruiser Dominion as it carved through the alien formation like a sword through silk. His ship carried weapons that violated every known law of warfare, but humans had never signed those treaties. "Target the Xanthari command ship," Mitchell ordered. "Fire the Nova Cannon." The Nova Cannon was humanity's most terrible weapon, a device that could compress a star's worth of energy into a single projectile. When it struck the Xanthari super dreadnought, the results were beyond imagination. The massive alien ship simply ceased to exist. Vaporized so completely that not even debris remained, Supreme Commander Velthara died without even knowing what hit her. The eternal glory, pride of the Xanthari fleet, was gone in an instant. The sight of their flagship's destruction sent waves of panic through the alien formation, but the humans were not finished. Boarding pods launched from their ships like deadly rain, carrying assault teams directly into the alien vessels. The Galactic Alliance had thought their superior numbers would protect them, but the human Marines fought with a savagery that defied comprehension. Sergeant Rick Taylor led his team through the corridors of a Vexry crystal ship. The aliens tried to stop them with sonic weapons and energy barriers, but human soldiers had spent centuries perfecting the art of close combat. "Clear every deck," Taylor shouted over the sound of explosions. "No survivors." The human assault teams moved through the alien ships like death itself. They carried weapons that could cut through any armor, explosives that could breach any hull, and a determination that seemed to transcend normal human limits. The Vexery defenders discovered that their crystal bodies, once thought unbreakable, shattered like glass under human weapons. The Korthic found that their hive-mind coordination meant nothing against opponents who fought as individuals. The energy beings of the Astral Collective learned that their incorporeal forms could be disrupted by human technology. Hours passed, and the Galactic Alliance fleet began to disintegrate. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for generations were being destroyed by opponents they had dismissed as primitive savages. The humans fought with a coordination that seemed telepathic, each vessel supporting the others in perfect harmony. Admiral Marcus Stone watched the battle from his command chair, his expression calm as death. His fleet was performing exactly as he had expected. Years of secret training and hidden technology were paying off in the most decisive victory in human history. "Sir, the enemy is beginning to retreat," reported Captain Hayes. "Approximately. Half their fleet has been destroyed," Marcus nodded. "Let them go. They need to carry word of what happened here back to their homeworlds." The surviving alien ships fled in panic, their crews traumatized by what they had witnessed. The proud Galactic Alliance had been shattered by a force they could not understand or defeat. The humans had not just won a military victory. They had proven themselves to be the galaxy's apex predators. Hive Queen Zarkle escaped in her damaged flagship, her mind reeling from the loss of so many of her children. The humans had killed them without mercy, treating the destruction of entire fleets as routine business. Admiral Kexanoth fled in his crystal vessel, its faceted hull cracked and bleeding energy into space. The mathematical certainty of victory had been replaced by the cold reality of defeat. The humans had weapons and tactics that exceeded every calculation. The few surviving Void Walkers retreated to their dimensional hiding places, carrying tales of human brutality that would echo through parallel realities. Even beings who existed outside normal space and time had learned to fear the children of Earth. As the last alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Stone stood up from his command chair. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The galaxy had learned what happened when humanity was pushed too far. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Set course for the former Galactic Council Station. It's time to establish a new order." The human fleet moved through the debris field that had once been the mightiest armada in galactic history. 42 ships had defeated 800 through superior technology, tactics, and sheer determination. The age of alien dominance was over. News of the Battle of the Void would spread throughout the galaxy within days. Every species would hear about the defeat of the Galactic Alliance. Every government would understand that the balance of power had shifted permanently. The humans had revealed their true nature at last. They were not peaceful explorers seeking membership in galactic civilization. They were conquerors who had been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars. The galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council Station hung empty in space like a ghost ship. Captain Tony Mitchell guided his cruiser Dominion through the abandoned docking bays, past the silent corridors where alien diplomats had once debated the future of civilization. Now those same aliens were hiding in their homeworlds, too terrified to venture into the void where human ships PROWLED. It had been 3 weeks since the Battle of the Void, 3 weeks since humanity had shattered the largest fleet in galactic history with casual efficiency. The news had spread through the galaxy faster than light. Carried by the few surviving alien ships that had witnessed the massacre, Ambassador Karen Thompson walked through the empty council chambers, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. She wore a simple black suit and carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who knew she represented the galaxy's new masters. The raised platforms where alien representatives had once sat now stood vacant, their occupants having fled. In panic, "It's almost sad," Karen said to her aide, a young man named Paul Grant. "All this grandeur, and nobody left to appreciate it." Paul looked around the chamber with wonder. "Do you think they'll ever come back?" Karen smiled. "Oh, they'll come back, but not as equals. Those days are over." The first diplomatic contact came exactly 1 week later. A small Xanthari vessel approached the station under a flag of truce, its hull scarred from the recent battle. The ship carried Prince Vale Saran, heir to the Xanthari throne and one of the few surviving members of their royal family. Prince Vale Saran was tall and elegant like all his people, but his silver skin had taken on a pale, sickly hue. His hands shook as he walked through the station corridors, flanked by human guards who watched him with cold professionalism. "I come seeking peace," the prince announced when he met Karen in the council chamber. "My people wish to avoid further conflict with humanity." Karen studied the alien prince with interest. The Xanthari had once been the galaxy's dominant species, their technology and culture admired throughout known space. Now their representative stood before her like a beggar asking for mercy. "Peace is certainly possible," Karen replied. "What are you offering?" The prince's proposal was everything humanity could have asked for and more. The Xanthari Empire would surrender all territorial claims outside their home system. They would provide detailed intelligence about their military capabilities. Most importantly, they would pay tribute to Earth in the form of advanced technology and rare materials. "We understand that the galaxy has changed," Prince Velsaran said quietly. "We accept humanity's right to rule." Karen accepted the terms with gracious dignity as if she were doing the Xanthari a favor. The prince departed with obvious relief. Grateful that his people would be allowed to survive under human protection, the other species followed quickly. Within a month, representatives from every major civilization had visited the station to negotiate their own surrender terms. The Vexri Consortium offered their mining expertise in crystal technology. The Korthic Collective promised to serve as human military auxiliaries. The Astral Collective shared their knowledge of energy manipulation. Dr. Mary Anderson led the human research teams that began cataloging the alien technology. She was a brilliant scientist with kind eyes and gentle hands, but she worked with the efficiency of a conqueror dividing spoils. "The Xanthari energy shields alone are worth decades of research," Mary told Karen during one of their meetings. "And the Vexri have crystal computers that operate faster than anything we've ever built." Karen nodded approvingly. "What about the abandoned worlds?" Mary's expression grew excited. "Incredible discoveries. The aliens evacuated so quickly that they left entire cities intact. We're finding technology that could advance human civilization by centuries. The abandoned worlds were humanity's greatest prize. Entire planets had been deserted when news of human victory spread. The aliens had fled in such panic that they left behind everything they couldn't carry. Factories, laboratories, libraries, and military installations all sat empty, waiting for human exploration teams. Captain Ben Collins, the research vessel commander who had survived the first Korthic attack, now led one of these exploration teams. He walked through the crystal cities of the Vexri homeworld, marveling at the alien architecture that seemed to grow from the planet itself. "It's like they just vanished," Ben told his team as they explored a massive laboratory complex. "The experiments are still running. The computers are still processing data. They left everything behind." Dr. Lisa Wong, his old colleague from the research station, studied an alien device that hummed with unknown energy. They were so afraid of us that they abandoned their entire civilization. I almost feel sorry for them, then understood her feelings. The aliens hadn't been evil, just arrogant. They had made the mistake of testing humanity's resolve and discovered too late that humans were not the peaceful species they had pretended to be. The transformation of galactic civilization continued steadily. Human colonies were established on the most valuable abandoned worlds. Trade routes were reorganized under human supervision. The various alien species began to interact with each other through human intermediaries, creating a new order with Earth at its center, Admiral Marcus. Stone commanded the human fleet that patrolled the galaxy, ensuring that peace was maintained. His ships visited every system regularly, their presence serving as a reminder of human power. The sight of a human warship was enough to prevent conflicts before they could begin. "The galaxy is finally at peace," Stone reported to Earth during one of his regular communications. "No major conflicts in 6 months. Trade is flowing smoothly. The aliens are adapting to the new reality." The reality was simple. Humanity had become the galaxy's guardians, protectors who maintained order through the promise of overwhelming violence. The various alien species were allowed to prosper and develop, but always under human supervision. Years passed, and the new order became established tradition. Alien children learned about the war of human revelation in their schools, studying the battles that had transformed their universe. They were taught to respect and fear the species that had hidden their true nature until the moment of crisis on the Korthak homeworld. Young larvae listened to stories about the terrible efficiency of human warriors. They learned about the boarding actions where human marines had cut through Korthak defenses like paper. The lesson was clear: never underestimate the children of Earth. Xanthari students studied human military tactics in their academies, marveling at the coordination and precision that had destroyed their empire. They learned to appreciate the art of warfare that humans had perfected over millennia of conflict. Vexery crystals resonated with tales of human technological innovation. Their young ones were taught to admire the species that could turn the fundamental forces of the universe into weapons. The humans had shown them that there were no limits to what intelligence could achieve. The Galactic Council was eventually re-established, but in a very different form. Human representatives sat at the center of the chamber while alien delegates occupied smaller platforms around the edges. The voting system was reformed to give humanity final authority over all major decisions. Ambassador Karen Thompson presided over the new council with quiet authority. She listened to alien concerns and mediated their disputes, but everyone understood that her word was final. The galaxy's fate rested in human hands. "The old system failed because it assumed all species were equal," Karen explained to a group of young human diplomats. "We've learned that equality is earned, not given. Humanity earned its place through superior force." The galaxy had indeed learned its lesson. Trade flourished under human protection. Scientific advancement accelerated as alien technologies were shared and improved. Wars became rare because everyone knew that human intervention would be swift and decisive, but the most important lesson was simpler than all the rest. The name human had become synonymous with power, efficiency, and the terrible beauty of perfectly executed warfare. In a universe where might made right, the humans had proven themselves the mightiest of all. The war was over, but its echo would reverberate through the galaxy forever. Humanity had won not just a military victory, but something far more valuable: the respect that comes only through superior force. Every alien species understood that their peaceful existence depended on human goodwill. The children of Earth had claimed their inheritance among the stars, and the galaxy trembled at their name in fear and awe.